Okay, Econ class, this is a quick lesson on elasticity. What does elasticity look like? You can see this graph over on the left, graph A. It says elastic, which means there is a lot of responsiveness as you change the price. If you were to increase the price from $1 to $2, you can see the quantity demanded decreases substantially from 40 units down to 10. You would say people are very responsive. If we were to graph something then perfectly elastic, the demand curve would be a horizontal line which says at P1, the demand is infinite for whatever you want to sell. But if you raise the price even a penny, you would sell nothing, right? So down here, this would be relatively elastic. Relatively elastic. This up here is perfectly elastic. So what if people are not responsive to a change in price? What if you quadruple the price over here on the right, inelastic, quadruple it from $1 up to $4, you do sell half as much, but people are not nearly as responsive as you'd expect. Perfect inelasticity would be a vertical demand curve. And something like that would be insulin, right? It's not as though a decrease in price on insulin causes us to rush to the store and all go buy insulin. The quantity of people who buy insulin are diabetics. And if the price goes up, they'd want it, and if the price goes down, they'd want it. It is perfectly inelastic. Unit elasticity means that your total revenue doesn't change with increases or decreases in price. You can see here $3 times 10 is 30, or $1 times 30 is still $30. So what are the determinants of elasticity? We'll go through those quickly. The more substitutes something has, the more elastic it will be. Meaning if you raise the price of pop in order to sell a bunch, you think you could make a bunch more money because it's amazing pop, chances are people would buy something else and there would be elastic demand. Second, the proportion of your income. If something that's really expensive increases in price, people tend to be more elastic. Like if cars doubled in price from $25,000 a year to $50,000, or not per year, but per car, more people would ride the bus. But if a small portion of your income, like buying candy, you want to buy Laffy Taffy, and it increases in price from 5 cents to 10 cents, that's a 100% increase in price, but you don't care because it's only a few pennies. Luxuries tend to be elastic, necessities are inelastic, where you buy it no matter what. Things that you're addicted to tend to be inelastic, like smokers buy tobacco and they continue to smoke. And the last determinant of elasticity is the amount of time you have on your hands. Consumption tends to be more elastic over time as you have more options. But if you need something immediately today, you tend to be inelastic. So how is elasticity measured? You guys, this is the equation you need to know. Percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in price. And so unpacking that, it looks like this, right? I'll draw it out. Percent change quantity demanded over percent change in price, which is Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 divided by P2 minus P1 over P1. And you'll notice this here, absolute value. All these numbers would be negative, so we drop the minus sign. We're going to do examples in class tomorrow where I give you 2 sets of prices, 2 sets of quantities, and you're going to tell me what type of good it is. But let's look really quickly at this first point. If there's an increase or decrease in price that results in a little change in quantity demanded up here, the demand for that good is called inelastic. So let's just make up some numbers. Imagine you change the price of a good 10%. Quantity demanded changes by 50%. Oh, I'm sorry, I just gave you an elastic example. Let's do that. Here, a little change in price leads to a big change in quantity demanded. Because 5 is greater than 1, we would call this good elastic. I just went out of order. This is if an increase or decrease in price results in a big change in quantity demanded. The demand is called elastic. But let's switch it around. Let's imagine that instead of those numbers which I just did, they were like this. You change the price 50%, there's only a 10% change in quantity demanded. This is a fifth, which is 0.2. Because it's less than 1, we call it inelastic. So 1 is your reference point. And this last one down here, what if there were an equal change? What if price changed 10% and the quantity demanded changed 10% and they were equal to 1? Then an economist would say that good is unit elastic. Okay, next slide. There's another way to do this. It's called the total revenue method. Total revenue is just price times quantity. And what economists have noted is that if you raise the price on something and you make more money, the good is inelastic, right? And this means that you could go in the other direction as well. Let's say you lower the price on something and you make less money. It's inelastic. But if you were to lower the price, increase, in other words, price and total revenue are going oppositely, the demand is elastic. Same thing here. You raise the price, you make less money, it's elastic, right? And a business would want to know that so they can maximize their revenues. Here's a summary slide. You can pause the video and just look at this, but it summarizes price elasticity of demand. The last one I want to mention is elasticity of supply, which is exactly what you would think, percent change in quantity supplied over percent change in price. The key idea here is time. If the price of apples doubles, you can't just make twice as many apples tomorrow. You probably need a whole season. But in terms of cutting hair, if the price of cutting hair goes up, you can hire more barbers immediately. So we'll practice elasticity tomorrow. See you in class.